Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is Tim Fergestad, and thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have John Kloian with me here today. Having built, managed, and exited companies, John Kloian is always combining operational technical skills with businesses thinking, and is a partner at Gapview. Welcome to the show, John.
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me.
All right. So let's start right now with Gapview and where you're at now, and we can sort of fill in the gaps as we can backfill your story.
Fill the gaps about the Gapview. Yeah,
Yes.
Perfect. So I left my corporate job last November. I was the chief information officer of a company that's been here in the Valley since the 80s. And
Oh, wow.
I left for an opportunity to build another company. I was very excited about the opportunity and what we were going to build. I wasn't concerned necessarily about what I was going to get out of it personally, but what we could give back to people. I felt strongly, and I reached a time in my life where I'm starting to think about what am I leaving behind? Right.
Okay. Yeah. What's the best use of your time? Something meaningful.
Yeah, exactly. I know some people call it a legacy, but I was very, I wanted to leave things in a better state than I left them. And I have people that I worry about and things like that. I'm just going to take it all. So that was the motivation, the factor. But it turns out I had a lot of extra time. So I said, well, why, I have all these skills that I've had over the years, and I've been able to help people. I mean, they're still valuable. I can just go out and maybe I know some people who could use that. So I started a consulting company, and I met another consultant along the way, and we had similar views about what it takes to organize people around a cause and get them to work efficiently together with each other. We all worked in corporate America. I'm sure we all have horror stories about what goes wrong. It's amazing things get done because more things go wrong than they go right, and people are still successful as a result. So we decided to join forces, and that's when we created. He was the founder. He brought me in as a partner at the Gapview, and he was focused on process at the time. And as we started talking, we started looking holistically. Like, process is one piece of what it takes to take a company and make it successful and organize the people. You got to have a vision. You have to have a brand promise. You need to organize your people and a culture, right? Your people, your processes, your technology, leadership, and good measurement. So we kind of took a holistic view through some of that, and we relaunched the Gapview. And branding, we created some proprietary assessments to help companies see where they might have some gaps, where they want to do something. These are things we give away to people for free. And so we're off doing that. So that consumes a fair amount of my time. That's something relatively new. I think we just launched the new website 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Okay. So that's been fun. And, this is going to sound very bold, but we're very confident that, if you can organize the people in an organization and give them a proper context so that they can make good decisions, they don't need to be micromanaged, and everybody understands where we're going and all kind of pulling in the same direction.
Right.
That makes a company wildly successful. We think the value of a company that can do that can double their value in 24 months. And so that's one of the things that, we'd love to help people do that. Or work on one specific thing. So that's where we're at. I get excited about that because I love to help people be successful. Right.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. So, and I'm spacing on them. I know there's a number of really good examples of how it was just a lack of vision within the company, right? If you can give them, some idea of where they're all rowing towards, they seem to click and do it a lot better.
Yeah, when you're when you have an idea and I'm going to start a business and I'm going to be an entrepreneur, it's very easy to get things done because it's all in your head. You know what you want, you probably know who your customer is, you know what value you provide, and you know where your customers are at, so you go talk to them. And you're successful and you make money and you grow, and you need to bring people in because you can't do all the things. Well, you reach a point where you've grown and you've gotten successful and you have enough human beings involved. It's complicated. Right? It gets very complicated when you have human beings because we need to talk to each other. We have, we have needs, and we're human, right?
Right.
And
Right.
if we can't be coordinated, and you're about 40, 50 people, and you don't know why the company exists, and you don't know who the customer is, and you don't know the value that we provide, how can you make good decisions as an employee? So that
Right.
causes all kinds of chaos in the organization. Well, if you can get rid of the chaos, you can be successful again.
Right, right. And it continues, right? I mean, it's you know, performing their best, even if they know that stuff, they still may not have their own personal um uh, drive, you know,
Yeah.
or right, what the you know, the oh, I'm spacing the words. Anyway, they may not be motivated enough. They may not be getting the
Yeah.
reward
I know what you
internally.
mean. I know exactly what you
Yeah,
mean.
yeah.
Well, here's the meaning that I take from it. My last job, I worked at a company here in the Valley, TTI Success Insights, and they've been around for 40 years. And they make psychometric assessments. These are self-reporting assessments that try to get at, you know, your behavioral style or what motivates you or your emotional intelligence and all of
Right,
that.
right.
One of the things that I learned is if I'm in a job that doesn't align with the things
Right.
that motivate me as a human being, and
Right.
they don't align with my behavioral style, it's going to be very, very
Right.
hard for me to enjoy my work.
Yeah, it's not intrinsically rewarding.
Yeah, it's like you take a person, they're completely introverted, right? And you say your job now is to cold call total strangers for 12 hours a day. They are not going to enjoy that because they're intrinsically introverted. It's not a job. So it's a shame on somebody who's saying, I recognize you're introverted, but we're going to put you in an extrovert's job. Take a little time and understand. So that's what I liked about some of the things I learned at TTI. We could use some of these psychometric assessments to understand a job has some core requirements in terms of behavioral style and in terms of motivation. And if we can understand that, and then we can match people who are well suited to this job and not well suited for that job.
Sure.
And you
Get
have
them in the right seat.
Exactly, right? And a better chance for them to feel good and be proud of what they do and enjoy what they do, not dread going to work when they get up. And all those things permeate into their families, their relationships with their wives and their children, with their friends and their communities. I mean, all of those things are interconnected.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Pride was the word I was looking for, but
okay.
Yeah, circling back to the bigger picture real quick. Which types of companies? I mean, you guys have probably experience in certain fields already, and these things apply to virtually every company, really. But do you have a particular type of company or focus that you can probably that your expertise lends to a little better than others?
Yeah. So we have an idea who our ideal customer or our ideal buyer would be, and it's a company probably doing $5 to $100 million worth of business, probably around 67 or less employees, maybe a little bit more than that. But that is that stage of company that really starts running up against the friction of chaos because they have enough people and they haven't. Maybe they had a vision and they didn't define it. So that's a sweet spot for us. And these are probably,
I've heard that's called the swamp for middle-sized companies that they get stuck in. They can't scale out of.
That's exactly right. There's been a few people who have written about this. I like Stephen Fisher. He's navigating the growth curve. He would call it a stage 4 company where people and processes and that chaos inhibits the growth. But there's a bunch of different models and they all kind of, it's very similar. Like you said, the swamp. You get stuck in the mire, and the mire is the chaos of the people not being to coordinate. So I think that's a sweet spot for us, and it's probably a B2B company, and we would be talking to either the owner, and maybe it's a family-owned business, or somebody at the very top is interested in either an exit, so they're concerned about the value of the company, or maybe they want to leave it for the next generation. But primarily somebody who's concerned about the value, increasing the value, or maybe they've realized that they've gotten stuck and they can't grow.
Right. Okay. There's a fair amount of competition in this space, right? People who navigate those waters. Now they want to go teach other people how to do it.
Yeah.
Right. Can you talk a little bit more about what sets you apart and what others may find challenging that you find easy?
At the end of the day, I think for us, there's a lot of people that have models. There's a lot of books that have been written about this. And like you said, there's millions of people who make it their business to help and coach and consult other people doing this. I think where we're unique is our approach, our model. It's simple. It's easy to understand. It can fit in people's brains, and I don't need 20 pages to describe it to you. And it really stems from, we use the imagery of a rocket ship trying to hit a target, right? And the target is your vision. That's what we want to do. And our brand promise is kind of like the payload of the rocket. And the people, your strategy, your people, your processes, your technology, that is the propulsion system of the rocket. Your leadership is the fuel. Too much fuel, it blows up the rocket. Too little fuel, it can't get moving. And then your measurements, some people would call them KPIs. I kind of shudder because I've seen the KPIs steer things off target if they're not right. But if your measurement or your guidance system is right, you can guide the rocket that's firing to the target. So that's kind of some of the imagery we use. But we think it is as easy as is giving everybody in the organization the proper context so that they can make good decisions based on what is the vision of the company, who is their ideal customer, and what is the value that they transfer. And focusing everybody on that and making sure they all understand that. And when you can do that, we believe that human creativity and pride of work and pride of ownership take over, and wonderful things happen as a result of aligning and unifying everybody.
And simplifying, because when it's too complicated, people get stuck in the red tape and they lose the vision.
That's right. They get focused on departments invariably. I don't know, some of your listeners, maybe even you've experienced this. I've been in companies where literally the departments are set at war with each other because the KPIs are contradictory to the mission of the company. So I'm literally fighting against the people that I'm supposed to be in the same cohort with for the same goal, but we're fighting because our KPIs are contradictory, and nobody recognizes and nobody sees it. I just come to work, I focus on my KPI, and then I go home, and that's how I do a good job.
Right. So I was talking to Rick McPartland about this, a friend of both of ours. He's great. But we were talking about the most important number, and I think it was Lee Benson.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's here in Phoenix too, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he wrote a book, The Most Important Number, and maybe you can just summarize how tracking the wrong KPIs can really hurt you.
Oh my gosh, I am a huge fan of The Most Important Number. I would go so far as to say a devotee of it. I believe very strongly in it because it gives you clarity about what things you should measure and what things you should not measure. Right. And I don't want to say don't read the book. The book's really good. But if you can get this principle down, it's pretty simple, right? Every week, first of all, we all like to know that we're winning the game, right? And if I'm at a game, if I'm playing a game, it doesn't matter what game it is, there's a scoreboard. And the scoreboard has the score. All the other numbers, they may be there, but they're smaller, they're harder to read, and maybe you don't understand it, but everybody can see the score, right? And they all know where they stand. So the idea is that a business has one number. There's one number that tells you whether the business is winning the game or the business is losing the game. And if you don't know what that number is, how do you know if you're doing well as a business? So you got to figure out what that number is. Usually revenue, maybe it's profit, and it's somewhere around there, because that's how the business sustains itself. But once you understand what that number is, the next thing is you have all these ancillary functions that are doing work to drive that number. Figure out what each cohort's most important number is, and it better be a number that drives that main number. If it's not, they're focusing on the wrong number. So now all the numbers are cohesive. They all drive the most important number, and now you know that you're focusing your efforts and you're measuring the things that drive ultimately for me winning. It gives everybody one thing to understand: I'm winning, I'm losing, because I have my one number, and I understand how it contributes to the greater good of the whole company, which is a huge miss for a lot of people. Why am I here? What do I do? Why does my job matter? Like, if I don't know that, I'm not getting much out of my job.
Well, even if they do, like in the book, he mentioned an example of somebody who sort of was missing the mark was an HR department. and they're really trying to avoid turnover, right? So their biggest metric is keeping people there and not leaving the company, but the company can still fail and go out of business. So
Yes.
congratulations on hitting your departmental number.
You're keeping the wrong people around.
Right.
Exactly. That is a great case in point. Rick is very adept at picking out the nuggets and being able to explain in a way, and we see it all the time. Contradictory metrics. Like I said, that's why we used a rocket ship. The measure, that's the guidance system. If you're not taking the right measurements, you cannot hit the target.
Right. I like that analogy. Now, let's talk about challenges. How about in your company coming up or in the past? Things that have been particularly insightful for you.
I learned this from Rick. Rick has a great book that he wrote, and he offers a certification in Chief Revenue Officer thinking. And I was very much struck with the simplicity of what he offers. So I went and got myself certified. Before I got certified as a result of what I was seeing in my job in the business. And, honestly, the challenges, most of the challenges are people challenges, right? Caused by lack of clarity. And what I've noticed is that the chaos in the organization steals from the top line and from the bottom line. And that number can be as much as 40% of revenue is going out the door because of chaos. Human caused chaos. And most of the times it's the leadership of the company that is causing the chaos. And they've got it misplaced that, oh, this person is a bad apple or that person isn't doing the job. Well, we all know that bad systems ruin good people all the time. So the challenge as I see it, is understanding who you are, what you do, what value you transfer, and ensuring that everybody knows that. And businesses don't do a really good job of doing it. And the ones who do the worst lose a lot of money. And maybe they're only successful because they're in some kind of bubble and they're successful in spite of themselves.
Right.
Yeah, we've probably seen those companies, the market shifts, and then they go out of business because they weren't sustaining themselves, or they can't adapt to the times because they don't know how to coordinate their people. So that really stuck with me. That is the big challenge. It's people. Well, there wouldn't be any problems in the world if it weren't for people, right? And especially in business. And it's usually not because people get up and they want to do a bad job. I'm going to go to work and I'm going to do a horrible job. They come to work and they can't do a good job because they haven't been shown how to do a good job, because the business doesn't even understand how it can do a good job.
Right. Yep. Simplicity. That's paramount for sure.
Right. Can you imagine if you went on a road trip with your wife and you didn't each know where your destination was? So you go to sleep and she starts driving the car and she goes to where she thinks you're going, but you get up and you go to where you think you're going?
We've had trips like that. So yeah. So to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's great, John. Thank you for that. So you mentioned sort of early on about how you got into making this transition into the current endeavor, and some people call it legacy plans. Can you speak a little bit more about that? Your own personal sort of legacy plans, maybe?
Yeah, well, so they're abstract, right? I don't have anything necessarily concrete, like specific. It's going to be this, it's going to be that, it's going to be that, but it's going to have a form, and that's what I mean by abstract. And the form is going to be that I am with my personal finances, with my estate, and my wife and I are very much in alignment with this, our family, and then also in terms of in our community, right, which is where we intersect with business or value transfer. And the thing that motivates me is being able to leave something behind in both of those contexts for a generation that I'm never going to meet.
Right.
So it's very abstract, right? But so that helps inform my decisions. What am I building, right? What value am I transferring, right? This goes all the way down to the core of what I do when I do business. If you and I were interacting, I can choose to do this one of two ways. I can be big picture, or I can be mercenary, as Rick would say in his book. If I'm mercenary, I'm only focused on that particular transaction and I'm only focused on what I can get out of it. If I'm big picture, I'm probably more apt to be thinking about how can I help you and how can I do it in such a way that you and I can create a long-term relationship. So I'm not making money from you, I'm making money with you. And that is, to me, that is the essence of building a legacy, right? I am concerned about others. I'm concerned about value transfer. I'm not perfectly altruistic, but I'm not interested in, I can do this, that, and the other thing, and I can make a quick $100. Well,
sure. That's very transactional. That's how most people start, right? It's a wise person who's understood that, you can go further together and do well while doing good.
100%, absolutely. Yeah, this is the old phrase, givers get, right? You don't give to get, but givers do get. There's a bunch of traditions around the world that have a different way of phrasing that, but that's the same thing, right? So that's when I think of legacy, all my decisions are not necessarily like, oh, I need to have this monolith in the town square that has my name inscribed. It's not that kind of legacy, but the kind of legacy where the world's a better place because I did things in a context where I wasn't just concerned about myself.
Right.
I want to something I'm never going to meet.
Right. Which is very altruistic. Which is awesome. You have to be able to provide for yourself first, though, right? Before you can really be just the fundamentals of the hierarchy of needs, right? I mean, one of the definitions of success that I really like is just a simple one is just doing what you want when you want with who you want, and once you get there, then you can choose something meaningful from that, right? Then you can, pay it forward, whatever, and start working in a way that's in coherence with your values, right? And create a proper, meaningful mission.
You're absolutely correct. There is no way that I could make the world a better place or leave something for my great, great, great grandson if I wasn't properly taking care of my resources and understanding how do I grow them and utilize them, because that's the definition of building. Otherwise, I'm just wasting, right? And I'm frittering away all the things. So you're 100% right. I need to be concerned about growth and preservation in order to build.
Right. That's right. I think that's maybe in this day and age in particular where it's instant gratification sort of society and other stuff. People want things fast and they don't realize they want to go change the world, but they don't even have their own house in order first. Right? They want to tell everyone else what to do and how to live, and why don't you just?
Well, there's a point. I agree with you. To your point, there's a lot of noise that we're exposed to in modern society that really has one message: consume more, consume now, consume faster. Right? People who aren't concerned with owning things, who are thinking about I'll just pay rent the rest of my life. Well, that only works for so long, right? Then how do you? And then not to say it's bad to rent, but that's a different mindset. It's a consumption mindset, and you can. Right. My parents didn't have that mindset, and I don't know that their parents they had a different mindset. And if we go back, not right or wrong, but different. The noise in the society is focused around consumption, and those are the antithesis of the idea of legacy and of building. It's hard to build something when you're consuming.
For sure. So as we wrap up the interview, I was wondering if you had any upcoming plans or initiatives you wanted to share.
Bless you.
Thank you. That's a first. I've never sneezed on the podcast before.
To me. Well, there's one I can't talk about right now. So I guess the other one.
Tease. Okay.
I know. I apologize, but it's one of those things where it's just not ready to show people because it needs to have a little bit more stuff on it. The thing that comes to mind is what we've created at Gapview. We've created some proprietary assessments, and we've given them away. We're not charging money. We would love for people to take them because we think they have value, and people can take an assessment. They could take all the assessments, and you can get them by going to our website, pick them, choose them, take whatever insights you get and use them. And, obviously, if you want to help, we would love to help you if you want to help, but we're not giving them away with the idea that that's, what I would say,
the sole answer for any
That's exactly
issue,
right. Yeah, I just escaped the words. Like, we think they have value, and we would love for people to use them because they can be better, right? And you don't need to buy a book, and you don't need to do this, and you don't need to give us a call, and none of those things. And you can just go to our website and you can find this. That's the one thing that I can think of, because I believe in the insight these assessments have to give. And they're real quick. They take like 5 minutes, and you don't have to answer a bunch of stuff. You just,
right. But you can see how useful that stuff can be, and how impactful, and how you get a taste of how easy and better things can be. So why wouldn't you?
That's right. You get caught up in the day-to-day, and you come to work and you're all in the day-to-day, and you very rarely have a chance to step back and go, oh my gosh, really? It could be that easy. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thanks, John. So if people would like to connect with you or learn more or find these assessments, where should they go? What can they do?
So you can find them on our website at thegapview.com.
That's easy. Nice.
Simple.
Okay.
Right?
Thegapview.com. Okay, excellent. All right. Was there anything I should have asked you that we didn't get to?
I can't think of anything. This was fun. I appreciate the discourse with you, and
okay. Me too. Ditto. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. So I'll wrap things up. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Thank you very much, John Kloian, for joining me today. We very much appreciate you sharing your story and insights into success and business scaling. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for having me. Goodbye, everybody.
Inspired by our guests? Visit phoenixprosperitypodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.